Guiding Voice podcast, a space where we explore change, healing, and the journey back to your true self. If you've been feeling stuck, held back by limiting beliefs, and caught in cycles of negative thinking, you're not alone. And this is exactly where this podcast meets you. Each episode is designed to gently help you break free from patterns by sharing something practical, real, and meaningful that you can begin to use in your own life. Here we don't just talk, we share tools, insights, and stories that are inspiring, relatable, and easy to understand so that you can truly connect with them. Most importantly, everything we explore is something you can take away and apply so that change isn't just an idea, but something you begin to live. You'll hear from mentors and coaches and authors and teachers and experts, people who have walked through challenges, faced their own struggles, and found a way forward. Their stories are here to open your mind, touch your heart, and inspire your own journey. And as you listen, my hope is that you feel supported, empowered, and gently guided. Because this journey is yours, and you don't have to walk it alone. I send you my love and blessings as you continue on your own path of growth, healing, and transformation. And today, I have the absolute pleasure of bringing you a very special guest, a very special person to me and my heart. From teenage mum and university dropout to multiple award-winning author, speaker, and TEDx speaker, Bernie Davies is living proof that your beginning does not have to determine your destination. Bernie's story and her journey is extraordinary. She spent 21 years building a successful career, property law, before making a transformational change in her own life, in another country, and stepping into a new chapter. Becoming a best-selling author, a speaker, mentor, and a passionate advocate for diversity, inclusion, and entrepreneurship. Her influence has taken her far beyond the world of business and law. Bernie has addressed member states of the United Nations, and she continues to use her voice to create a more inclusive and dynamic world, both here and globally. But what makes Bernie particularly special to me is that behind all of those achievements is a much deeper purpose. She is passionate about helping people discover their God-given purpose. And Bernie believes that our purpose is often inextricably connected to our gifts, our talents, and even the traumas we've experienced. And I think there is something incredibly powerful in that. Because sometimes the very experiences that we thought were breaking us can become those experiences that give us the wisdom, the courage, the compassion, and strength to help somebody else. And Bernie brings her faith, her experiences, and her insights with such authenticity. She is a mentor, a motivator, and an entrepreneur, and above all, someone who wants to help as many people as possible within the reach of her own voice discover who they are and what they are here to do. And there's one phrase that has become her famous mantra: we go together or not at all. So those words have become a powerful call for diversity and inclusion here in Wales and beyond. And I am absolutely honoured that this beautiful message of love can remind us that success isn't about how far we go. It's about how many people we can take with us. It's about opening doors, it's about lifting others, and it's about recognizing the gifts in one another. And that is something Bernie has shown me. It's about understanding that when we use our voice to empower somebody else, we create a ripple that can go far beyond ourselves. So today, I am delighted to welcome my good friend, this beautiful light and guiding voice to our podcast community, Bernie Davies. I am absolutely honored and so pleased to welcome my good friend, and I really do class you as one of my good friends, Bernie Davies. Thank you so much for joining me on The Guiding Voice.
Oh, it's my absolute pleasure, Debbie. And yes, you'd better be thinking of me as your good friend, because we'd be having words after this.
Yes, Absolutely. Oh no, you are. I mean, I have known Bernie for a number of years now, but we've worked more recently on so many projects together. And
Yes.
honestly, I have seen my beautiful Bernie in action. She's so inspirational. And then one of the things we sort of say is, you're always willing to give everybody a big hug and a big smile. The Bernie hug, the Bernie smile. Oh my goodness, we just love it. So thank you for being here, really, truly, truly.
Oh, it is my pleasure. But the secret to it, Debbie, is that I actually do get, I think I probably get more from the hug and the smiles than you all receive, because I am so much of I'm an extrovert. I'm a funny thing. I'm an introvert extrovert because I do like my own company. I'm quite also private and so on. But I love people and I get so energized by people that it does as much for me as it does for everybody else. So I will
Oh,
continue with permission to hand dish out my Bernie hugs and smiles.
oh, absolutely, absolutely. I don't think anyone would ever not want one of them, so that's absolutely fine with me. But I asked you to come on the Guiding Voice because you are currently, I mean, a massive inspiration for so many people, as I have found with the projects that we've done. And you're an author. You've done many speaking opportunities across the globe, as well as the TEDx, TEDx speaker. You want to share so much with other people. You have this mantra, which we'll touch on a little bit later. We go together or not at all. And it is
Yes.
so inspiring. That's such a beautiful mantra. So I'm going to ask you a little bit about that a bit later. But just so that we've got a bit of a beautiful starting point, let's start with Bernie, little Bernie, the childhood Bernie. You grew up in Jamaica. Is that
Yes,
right?
I did grow up in Jamaica, and I had quite an eclectic childhood because my mother was an academic, which I guess is why I am so drawn to universities, and because that was my life. We actually lived on the, well, not on the Mona campus. Now, the University of the West Indies is based in Mona in St. Andrew, Jamaica, and opposite the university, unlike the universities here, in the university in Jamaica and some of the other parts of the Caribbean, because it's the University of the West Indies spans three major Caribbean islands: Jamaica, Barbados, and Trinidad. And so it's like a gated community. It's like a world. It's like a city, a walled city or a gated city, because it's not walls. It's like mesh high enclosures. And opposite that, if you are lucky as a lecturer, you get to live in the university, one of the university houses. And the area over there is College Common. Oh, yes. And I am fortunate. We were one of the lucky ones who, so we lived in College Common, which was a lovely little gated community. But then my life, however, was not closed off. It was never just about exclusivity, despite the fact it might appear that way, because my mother and my father were from the country. And my mother was an only child, and she hated being an only child. So, she decided she was going to make up for that. She loved people. She didn't have a lot of people around her. My father grew up, he was the eighth of eight children. So he was all about people. They grew up really, relatively poor, to be honest, but they did good, poor people did good. So, but they never forgot their roots. So we were always like going back to the country to meet, and my father was, he was in, even though he trained as a chemist, he was in life insurance. So his world was quite big, and he ran a whole, organization of churches. So my world was very eclectic, very big, all sorts of different people, even though it seemed like it was private. So I guess I probably reflect that in my personality, because I'm very out there, but I also like the privacy. So I think, thinking about it, just talking to you, I think maybe that's where that was actually developed, because we had a little exclusive living, but we lived so much with the people. We go to some of their friends back in the country, and they were like poor people, the ones that we went to visit. It was, my dad did very well from life insurance, so we were pretty well off, to be honest. And but he never forgot his roots. And we'd go to visit people that just lived in one room. The whole thing was one room, but you could eat off the floor, Debbie. You could
Oh,
literally eat off the floor.
wow.
So it taught me from the very beginning. My early beginnings was, don't judge people by how much money they have. You judge somebody by, I think it was Marcus Garvey or one of those who that said, it's by the content of the character. It's either Marcus Garvey who said it, or Martin Luther King, and you judge a person by the content of their character.
Yeah.
So that is what I learned very early, that there's so much pride that can be found amongst people, amongst the little people, amongst
Yeah.
within the communities.
I was going to say it's very community driven, wasn't it? Yeah, for
Yes.
you. Yeah,
That was
yeah,
so that was it. So that's the early beginnings that I would say that have lived with me and developed and I've evolved into without even realizing, just talking to you now. And the other thing about the little Bernie, though, is very early I learned to be competitive. Of course, remember, it's academia. Academia,
yes,
right?
yes, yes. I think
World is
I think you did say that in your TEDx talk. You sort of said
yes,
it wasn't about who I was; it was about what I did, how
I
I could
did.
perform, how I could
Yes,
like level up. And you had what did the quiz nights and the quizzes and
yes.
things like that in the
Friday
drama because
evening,
you were 4 out of 5 children, so there was
I was fourth out of five. So I was number fourth,
you was
number
number
four.
4.
Yes, and oh gosh, Debbie, yes, man, those quizzes, and so you can imagine now it's a very high achieving family from it is now, and so those siblings were already the older ones were way ahead of me in just being competitive. But that whole thing was actually inculcated in us. Not being nasty, I think our parents just wanted us to do well because that's how they got out. That's how
Yeah,
they did
yeah,
well.
yeah, yeah,
So
yeah,
education, they
yeah.
didn't have any, their parents didn't have anything. So I guess they wanted, even though they might have something, thank God they actually put in us from that state time. Don't think about what we have. You can't sit on your laurels with what we have. What are you going to have? We demand you have a pulse, do well, right? That's it. So yes, so we used to have the quizzes and then I'd win. And when I won, oh my God,
Yes.
for a moment, for a brief moment, because you can imagine that picking order. I was a nobody. Oh, nobody want to hear me. Nobody there. Oh my God. It was something else. So it was that taught me erroneously that,
But it
you
was
know,
interesting because you also go on to sort of say, did you sort of quite early on then feel that you had to achieve in order to feel worthy? Be-
absolutely.
yeah,
Absolutely. Because that was when I got the notice. That was when anybody was certainly within the household, you know. And so that's remember, I'm talking about doing this from age 3, 4, 5, right? So by the time I got to school, I was well cooked. I already went to school with that kind of attitude,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
So when I went into the school system, it was about the performance. And of course, like any good school, and even here in the United Kingdom, if you have good pupils, you want to push them to do well. So I had no end of people encouraging me to be that person, to be that, yes, yes, do well, do well, do well. And but yeah, so to be honest, that just went on through my whole school career, right up into university. And people didn't like me and I couldn't figure why. I'm like, yeah. And my mother her only response to me was like, you need to know yourself. And I'm like, okay, well, okay, like anything else? Next, what else do you have to tell me? Because that's not cutting it. What do you mean, know myself? Tell me, no, say, you tell me as well in Latin, the perils of having an educated mother. Like, who wants to know about Latin? Tell me, no,
yeah,
say, know yourself,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
And she didn't tell my sister. That was another thing. Anyhow, my sister was older. So anyway, long and short of it, I discovered later on in life that I had it all wrong because it wasn't about achieving. It wasn't about being better than the next person. It wasn't about being on top all the time, be currying favor and so on. It was about the rest, everybody. It's helping everybody, not beating everybody and leaving them in your dust. But I had to have my own awakening moments that led me to that realization. And thank God that allows the rest of us now to meet the better Bernie, the one who learned and now truly holds that mantra, we go together or not at all, as not more than a value system. It to me, it is integral, I believe, to any kind of life that is worth living. Understanding that you're more than what you do, number one. People are more than what they do, number two. And that we need each other. And we are as strong. There's that cliche again, but let me tell you, cliches are cliches because they're good. So people keep saying them over and over. We are only as strong as that weakest link. So that person we can't be bothered with might just be make the difference between how successful a project is, how successful a mission, a vision, a strategy, a plan might be, if you just take the time to sit with them a little and understand what's going on. Because what might appear to be a weakness might really be your greatest strength.
Sure,
Shrouded.
absolutely. I mean, we call them those sort of pivotal
Yes,
moments, those moments that you think, oh my goodness me, I never recognized that, but if I do something about it, it'll make a change in my
exactly.
life.
And the thing is, there are sometimes, and I talk about that when I talk about groupthink, and that's one that this great people might not have heard of the term, but we certainly have experienced it, groupthink. And that is simply where you have homogenized thinking. And that is where you have people just towing the line, nodding and smiling and waving. They don't want to ripple, causing the ripples. They don't want to, mess with the status quo. So certainly don't want to fall out of favor with the ones who are influential. They don't want to lose potential opportunities if they seem to be thinking opposite to what seems to be the more favored way of thinking.
Yeah.
And we, as a result of that, sometimes we miss our greatest solutions to problems. With Apollo 13, that groupthink was certainly blamed for that. But closer to home, with in Wales, the scholars, the research has shown that groupthink had a lot to do with what happened around the era of the coal industry, when the decisions that were made and how the economy pretty much ostensibly de facto collapsed,
Yeah,
you know,
sure.
because of the decisions that were made. But even closer to our time, groupthink has been blamed for some of the decisions made around COVID, and some of the decisions made even within the local authority, within government. So, example, what do I mean? So, it is when it's people who seem to think, look, and agree with the same thing will just sit together without any other, just remain confined in the walls of their own knowledge, their own lived experience, because they're in their own information bubbles. They only listen to each other. They only get information. So they process everything, and they're all in this little, and so they don't understand what else is happening, what else is going on, because there's no room for open communication and all the alternative ways of thinking and alternative ideas and alternative experiences to be explored. So they make their decisions based on what they in a little cluster think is right.
Yeah.
But then the knock-on effect is going to impact them negatively as well as others.
Well,
So, for
absolutely.
example,
Yeah.
with the Shared Prosperity Fund, after we had the Brexit happened, some people believe groupthink affected Brexit. I have no opinion on that, certainly not publicly anyway. And
Don't go there.
because I'm not a politician, I'm not going there.
No.
And but the Share Prosperity Fund came out, to support underprivileged, underrepresented, to cover some of the gaps that were left by Brexit in terms of funding, European funding, and so on. Now, who in their right mind could have the government set up a fund to help people? The government said the local authorities can then administer these funds. Okay, they have autonomy. Each local authority has autonomy over the funds that they were given, they were allocated. And one of our local authorities, which will remain nameless, is known to have had their criteria to access this funding for entrepreneurship, for you to either scale up or to actually enter entrepreneurship, that you get this by, wait for it, invitation. Now, there are so many levels to that way of thinking. Now, if you can only get this fund by way of invitation, who is going to know you to invite you request this fund? What were the thinking? What were the various things that they thought about when they made that decision? And that is what we talk about groupthink. When you sit in your little corner and you make your own decisions, but it even then comes on more closely to us now, like say, universities and colleges and our workplaces, just in meetings. You have meetings, and I don't know if you've had this, Debbie, but I certainly have, and I don't think there's anybody who have not actually had it happen to them or seen it, where there's a meeting going on, and the person, somebody says, give their opinion. The person who's the influential one says, or says nothing after they've given their opinion. This is even the better one. This is the worst one. Just say nothing, right? And then move on to the next person. The next person now, who is clearly the friend or whatever, the more vocal person, says not different from what this person just said. Oh, that really makes a lot of sense. And then you have a lot of discussion around this, right? Or even worse, somebody says something, 2 or 3 people say something, number 4 says the same thing. They treat the number 4 repeating what the first person said as if it's the first time they've heard it in the room, and that person who said it first is not credited for. Have you seen that?
Yeah.
Well, let me tell you, no, that is groupthink, because you know what that does now? It means, therefore, that people are observing. So people are saying, so in this setting, number 1 is not really as favored by the person who is in charge. Now, if you're in a situation where you feel you need to be in the favor of the person who is in charge, you feel like you are forced that if number 1 says something, you wait for your cue first to see if the person in charge or the other person who number 4, who is in favor with the one in charge, will agree with number 1 before you agree with number 1. Now, if nobody agrees with number 1 because they all don't want to seem like they're going on the side which is not favored, number 1's view is pushed aside. But number 1's view might be the view that would really solve the problem.
Yeah.
But you have homogenized decision making based on groupthink, that kind of force, that kind of pressure that is unspoken, just based on how people are recognized or not, given the same amount of time, space, and recognition for what they might input. So that's the kind of thing.
That is so interesting. Everything that I let you talk about that, because I was just absolutely imagining you sitting around that table as a child, learning exactly that with a group dynamic. And that is what I was just going to ask you the question. When you look back now, what do you think some of these beliefs from your childhood have developed your decisions in your life as you went on? Because obviously you do, we talked about those sort of unexpected turns. Your unexpected turn, of course, was you became a teenage mum.
That's right.
And what happened inside you emotionally when you realized that, okay, life was suddenly going to look very different to what you were supposed to be performing at because you were the good schoolgirl. You
Immediately,
did all your, yeah. What happened there?
immediately.
What were you feeling?
Right. Well, first of all, I felt, if I'm really honest, I felt betrayed um, by life because the truth is, and that's something I really don't go into, but the way that I became a teenage mom is also one of the things that now have come out as a criminal thing and a big thing. The grooming by somebody how many years older than you. I was a victim of the grooming, 14 years older than me.
Wow.
Yes, from 16. I mean, so all of those things, I don't go into all of it, but that was another level.
Mm, mm.
And then, so I felt betrayed. I know what happened with me. I know what the optics looked like, but at the time, I didn't even realize just how bad of a victim I was. I more felt just the shame of not living up to being
Mm.
this goody goody two shoes, because that was my narrative all my life to myself
Yes.
and
Yes.
to the world,
Yes.
genuinely true narrative. I used to feel so proud of myself that I'm not doing what those other girls are doing, blah, blah, blah. So I felt really betrayed that I'm not the one looking like I was sleeping in the football team. Anyway, so that's another, that's
Mm.
another thing. So at first I felt there was anger, I was angry at myself. And I felt that I'd be treated the way I thought I would be treated if I was not good enough. But this is a good part of it now. The way it turned out turned me into this person that I am now, in the sense that I didn't get the condemnation I thought I would have got. My father said to me, listen, you're not the first girl this has happened to. You won't be the last. Pick yourself up. And, you know, I love you more than anybody else could love you. I mean, what girl would need that at that time?
Yeah.
So for me, it showed me how to be. As they say, you're learning, by how
Yeah.
you're. So I'm learning, don't judge.
Yeah.
I know what the story was. I knew what it looked like. I also was learning compassion. I was also learning the value of people. Yes, having people, needing people, and also realizing then that there's more to me than the performance. Yes, there I am somebody of value. Yes, and I can pick myself up, and I can dust myself off, and I can go again. And that's what I did. So that has equipped me no end to help other people, women, boys, young girls, everybody, because I can tell them that, and I can tell them that by giving them the example.
Yeah.
This is me.
Absolutely.
You think that, you look at me from the outside, you think I've got it all made. I've never seen anything but, roses and champagne and caviar. But, no, I've seen the inside. I've looked domestic violence in the face, and I've survived that. I've looked teenage motherhood in the face. I've survived that. I've looked dropping out of university, a first year university dropout in the face. You know, I've looked at those, all of them in the face, and I rose again. But the real message here is not this is me, how great I am. It is if you have the right support, which is where allyship comes in, which is so important for us to be that for somebody else. If you have the right people around you at the right time, and you have your faith, because for me, I had my faith, yes, you have your faith in something bigger than yourself, yes,
Yes.
and you are willing, just willing to bet on yourself just one more time.
Yes.
Don't give up.
Yes.
Just bet on yourself.
Yes.
Because you've got to agree with the people trying to help you. You've got to agree with the God who's trying to help you. You've got to agree to take the steps. So you've got to bring yourself into it. You've got to agree with it. Nobody can do it for you. They can only cheer you on the side and say, go on, go on, go on,
Or
you
not,
know,
or not.
or
But
not.
what you're talking about, because in the TEDx talk you talk about what temet nase, which is know yourself.
Yes.
And that I think is even a bigger message here. It is about knowing yourself. So that weak link, where is it? That
Mhm.
weakness becomes your greatest strength. And you've just listed your greatest strength. You sort of mentioned that obviously you ended up, you did go, you became a lawyer, property lawyer, didn't you? You did pick
Yes,
yourself
well,
up
actually,
and
at first I actually did, it was a general practice. I had my own general practice. I did property. I went to court, I got my robes on, did some criminal, I did the whole thing before I moved to the UK. When I came to the UK, I went to the property law. But I did, and I stayed in property law, and I was my last legal job. I was head of property at New Law Solicitors when it was in Cardiff Bay, just opposite the Senate. And isn't it interesting that full circle? I'm back in the Senate so much.
I know it's
Back
crazy,
in,
isn't it?
yeah,
Yeah.
so
I mean, when you were that property lawyer all those years ago, looking across the road, well, it was the Senate built then. It wouldn't have been built, I suppose.
yeah,
But
it
you were,
was there.
yeah,
It
it
was
was.
there, but it
And you
was there,
look
but
across, you
I
just
didn't
don't
even
think
think
how
about it.
things turn out,
I
do
would
you?
walk past it and go over to the Millennium Center on and after. Oh, it was like divine working there, though, because we were able to go across like 2 o'clock. They used to have the concerts in the Millennium Center. Those were the days. I don't know if they do that now, but they'd have people who'd come and perform just in the open area in the Millennium Center. And so I'd sometimes go for late because I was in charge, so I could take my lunch whenever. So I'd go like in the later afternoon when they have their concerts around 2, 3 o'clock. And I just sit and just watch it and then take my, lunch during that time and walk back over. Walking past the Senate, had no idea that it would be like, it's very much like I wouldn't say second home. I wouldn't be so bold as to say that, but I'm there pretty often and they're so supportive of the work that I do,
Yeah,
to
yeah,
be
yeah,
honest.
exactly.
That is the home of the Master in Diversity Awards,
Yeah, yeah,
and
absolutely.
it's just incredible. You would never know.
I want
Never.
to just ask you about something that I also find fascinating when you're talking. It's something that I love about your work when you say about you print. The reason why
Yes,
I love you print, because I've seen you talk about it, and I've seen you
yes,
actually, make examples of it all through your life, really. And it was something that you were talking about on TEDx because you made mention of your mum. She was
yes,
the one that I think was the main example to you about this idea of
yes,
you print. Can you just
yes.
give the listeners those examples if they haven't heard your TED talk?
Right. So first of all, what's a U print? Because every one
Yes,
of us
let's
have
say,
it.
what
That's what
is a
I say.
you? Yeah, yeah,
What is
yeah.
a U print? We all have it, and we leave it behind wherever we go, whether by default or on purpose. That I have in my first business book. Well, that's my first business book. Actually, is the networking handbook that I wrote in 2010. But the second one is Your Business Your Way, because in Your Business Your Way, I'm teaching people how to bring themselves, all of them, into their business, into their if they're building a larger organization, then it creates the culture of their organization. If it's a one-man thing, then it's your personal brand, and how do you develop that, and how important it is. And so what is a U-print? It's a thing that people actually mark you by. It's a thing that you do without thinking. It's a thing that people remember you with. It's the thing that when you think you've done it all, they really don't think about it. They think about how you made them feel. That's the U-print. What is it? What's the aura? What's the glow? What is it that you leave behind? Now, how do you ascertain what that is? Sometimes you just pay attention to what people say about you. Yes. No, you don't do that all the time, because then you can also fall into the trap of believing things that are not true about yourself, whether positive or negative. So you have to be also aware of yourself. You have to pay attention to yourself. Pay attention to the things that move you and drive you. Pay attention to the things that you really can't walk past without stopping. I'm like, hmm? When somebody else, it doesn't even move them. They don't even see it. pay attention to the thing that people talk about that you do so well, and you think, you just dismiss it because to you it's like so easy, you know? So what made me actually come to terms and realize the U print, which is what made me then reflect on what my mother had said to me. And then I started to look back and I realized,
Yeah.
I saw the trade of it. Because people would say to me, when I moved to Wales and I was new law solicitors, I had to pretty much build that department. But I was there within 6 months of taking on the role, new to Wales and everything. I got invited to speak at the National Conveyancing Congress. So I thought, they must really know me now as a great lawyer. Well, it wasn't about my legal skills. It was about how do you build your department through relationships, because that was the U print. That was the reputation that I was getting, that I was able to build through relationships, my ability to interact with people, to engage with people, the thing that made people remember me. So, for example, in the first 6 months I am there, you name everything that happened within the legal profession or connected, I was the one that media would call upon to speak about it. People are asking, how do I even know you? The thing is that they know me, they remember me, and they remember me nicely because of that Bernie hug. They talk about the Bernie hug, my smile, my laugh, my accent, the way I am. That was me. I realized that was becoming a brand, but it was actually naturally me. You
Yes.
know, that
Authentic.
it's
Authentically you. Yeah.
authentic, credible,
Yeah.
and but you, of course, it's something that actually, because of it being authentic and credible, then it actually intertwines very nicely into whatever you do. So then I started to pay attention to that. I realized, wow, okay, so if this is how I am being, and I'm leaving that behind wherever I go by default, then I'm going to take responsibility for it. So what do I mean by taking responsibility for it? So if you know you're a person who is genuinely a person who loves people, genuinely a person who's forgiving, or genuinely a person who brings the light wherever you go, you wake up in the morning and you have to take ownership of yourself. So you wake up. I don't wake up every morning looking like this and feeling, hey, the sun's out, ha ha ha. I'm burning, but I'm happy to be alive. No, I'm not Pollyanna, right? Some mornings I wake up and I don't want to get up. I would rather just do this and have a duvet day. But I hold myself responsible to show up as who I am. This is where it is. So when when you take stock of yourself, take stock of what people say about you, you realize, yes, that is really true. This is genuinely me. I'm not making this up. I do have this kind of way that I am. And sometimes it can be that quiet confidence. It doesn't have to be gregarious and loud and out there. No, it's what is you. What's you? Yes. And because it can be nice, quiet kindness, and all of that. So for me, it was just bubbly, loving people, friendly, always helping, find a way I can help people. That's just me. I'm always finding, how can I introduce this? If I'm talking to you about, it's my reflex. I start to think, how can I think of somebody that I could introduce you to. I think of something, an opportunity. That's what I am. That's how I'm wired. Naturally, that's just me. So I am a giver, and so I have to manage that as well. So going back to the question, so you ascertain all of these things. You get up in the morning, you don't feel like you want to love the world. You say to yourself, because you can capture those thoughts. The first 5 minutes you wake up in the morning are the most important 5 minutes, or sometimes 5 seconds of your life. Right? It dictates what the rest of the day is going to be like. It dictates who takes the day, and who takes the day takes the spoils. And no one is going to take the spoils of my day. That's how I see it. And sometimes you can allow it to happen if you catch yourself. Take charge of it by lunchtime. Your day isn't over. So in other words, you might say don't get up and say, oh, Bernie said, oh, I've lost the day. No, stop and say, okay, I'm going to stop. I'm going to now take control of this. This is a good day. For me, I say this is a day that the Lord has made. I will rejoice and be glad in it. It is well. I am not tired. And if I'm tired, I have all the energy and strength I need to do this day. The Bible says I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. Whatever you use to give you that thing that makes you, but for me, that's what I do.
Yeah, yeah,
I quote and they're firm in scriptures that tell me I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. And it is well, it is well. So those are the things I tell myself. I pick myself up. And if you see me looking bright colors and everything, you know, and extra smart, you know that that day was a day, one of those days, and I felt like I didn't want to get up. I just say, okay, all right, so Bernie, you're gonna be Bernie. You're gonna put your colors on. You coming out, and before you know it, and the other thing as well is you draw on the thing that energizes you. For me, and for anybody, to be honest, it is very difficult to help someone to feel better, and you yourself feel down.
oh, absolutely.
And
You've got to turn up as your real
encourage.
self.
When you start
Absolutely.
trying to encourage people, give good, give kindness, give something nice. It will you will feel better. So
Yeah,
okay, so now you get up and you decide. I decide. I tell myself no, and then I before you know it, it changes. I'll give you an example why it's important as well, because you have to show up everywhere, whether online or in person, by that you print, because you will get undone, you will get found out if you create. Don't create my you print if it's not you. You
yeah,
create your own. What moves you, who it is. And another way you can find out, before I go into that, another way you can find out about your you print is, who do you admire?
yeah,
Who who are the list three people that you admire, whether it's your a big time celebrity, somebody from your high school days, somebody from your youth, whatever. Three people, three different people that you would say, I really admire them. I think they will influence my life. Then ask yourself, what is it about them that you loved? What inspired you about them? Because whatever inspired you about them, you'll find out is going to be more often than not a trait. It's not the fact that they were so clever, right? Like, for example, I love Denzel Washington. Oh, yes, he's handsome, but it's not just because he's handsome why I love Denzel Washington. It's because he comes across to be such a man of character and
yeah,
integrity in
yeah,
Hollywood. Yes? So that's why I love Denzel Washington, right? So if you really start to pull apart why you admire these celebrities or these particular people outside of their talent, ask yourself if there's something about them, about that. Do you have that thing in them that you like in them? More often than not, you'll find that you are actually drawn to, it's deep calling to deep. It's the good value and the character in them that you have that you're drawn to more than just their talent. And if it's not that you see it in yourself yet, it's what you are hoping and aspiring to become.
yeah,
So that is when you start to realize who you are really. And then you take responsibility for developing that and being around people like that. And so when I say responsibility for developing that and being that, I'll give you an example. So one day I went out one Sunday, I go to church, and normally, Mark and I, we love to go for food. It's one of our things. I don't know how we're not like this, because
do like a
that's
bit of
our,
food.
we are foodies. We love to go for food, coffee, cake, meals, lunch, dinner, you name it. Anything to do with restaurants, we love it. Right? So after church, we went to for lunch. Went into this place and I saw this lady looking at me, smiling. And she smiled. So I smiled back. At first, I know I don't know this lady. So I sat down and this lady keeps looking and smiling. I'm looking at me, and I'm thinking, if I were not Bernie and I've seen some people like, why are you looking? Hello, face your way, please. You know how people can be.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
yeah, people can be. But I didn't do that. Got up and about to leave, she says, hi, is that Bernie? Called me by name. And then she told me her name. And this lady is somebody that I had been communicating back and forth with on Facebook for years. One of the people that have been following me, giving me support, engaging. No, can you imagine if after all of those years, how I could have undone this Facebook persona if it were just a persona of being a nice person?
Yeah, yeah,
If I had given her the face your way, please. I
Yeah.
can, if
Yeah.
you don't mind.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that thing taught me, not that I was going to do anything different, but it just kind of reinforced my belief that you've got to show up wherever you have a responsibility to show up as who you are whenever you show up.
Yeah.
Not that you're being
Absolutely.
hypocritical. Hold yourself accountable to your truth, to
I
who
do
you are.
like that. I do like that. I mean, you talk about your faith, okay?
Mhm.
Obviously, our listeners, or my listeners, maybe they've got various different faith,
Yes,
religion, what have you. That's absolutely. But the word faith, anyway, for me, is something that is very special. It's a
yes,
word where you have ownership of something
yes,
deep within your soul. That's for me what faith means.
absolutely.
And you
Yeah,
talk about your faith, and it's clearly woven in everything that you do, Bernie. But
everything.
was it something that was from your early childhood, or do you think that it really became much more ingrained or instilled within you when you, because you talked about domestic violence, right? As you maybe, when you're in that really dark time, that lowest point, sometimes that when people reach out, they reach for some faith in some format. Would you say that is where it was strengthened, or have you always just had it? What would you say?
I always had this love for God. I don't know where I got it. I remember there were times when I was a little girl. I mean, I've never shared this publicly before. Why am I choosing now? I don't know. But I remember when I was a little girl, I used to be walking, if I'm going for walks, I'm walking home from school, and I'd be thinking, oh, I would just love to die and go to heaven now. I just want to be with God. And literally, that was
Oh, that's so lovely.
like a
Oh,
little girl. And but then as I grew up, well, I was kind of like, as you grow up, you're just kind of like doing your thing. But I always had this love for God. So when the problems came, there was no question as to where I would look to, who I would look to. I first was a bit angry at God, to be honest, because I
yeah,
was
yeah,
thinking,
yeah. I'd
hello
like.
now,
Can you
God.
talk about that a little bit? Because
Yes,
people,
I was angry because
just
I know what I was like. I was a good girl, when my friends were watching, and I mean to each his own, but like for me, I don't think that children should be reading porn and all that and watching porn and all that. So when my friends were doing it in high school, I was thinking like, oh, look at them. And I think that's probably part of the reason I got humbled because I wasn't just having my own values. I was looking down my
you
nose
were
at people.
judging. Yeah,
Yes, I was judging.
yeah,
Yes. And so this, which is why now, even though, I have my faith, in our ecosystem, there are multi-faith people. There are all people, every type, and nobody feels. And I've yet to hear anything different. What I hear is people saying, without me even saying it, how they feel. So, welcome. It's not. There's no. They don't feel. There's no gender, no sex, everything. Everybody feels like they're welcome, and that's how I really feel about people. The judgment is gone, and I guess because I don't guess I know that because of the work that God, because I believe the work I'm doing is purpose led by God Himself. And if I could not be doing this work if I was that person who's going to be judging people, picking and choosing who to value, who to give an opportunity to, who to bring alongside me, then I would be of no use to Him because God is a great equalizer. Right? He
yeah,
is the great equalizer,
yeah.
and he is about love. And we, as human beings, we tend to make our own little isms out of things that are not even based on the Word of God.
Mm. So in
Yes,
those dark times when you were talking about domestic violence and you were in a really bad place, I mean, you mentioned in your TEDx talk that you came to the UK and you had nowhere to live. You were like homelessness. In those
yes,
moments of
yes. So yes, because I had
humbleness.
my great plans. I had my great plans, and it fell apart, and so did everything else. Which was living everything, and I didn't come to work. I came to do set up some project, big business. So I then know how to think about getting work and figuring out how to write my CV, because I didn't even know how to write a CV. And so my CV was full of all my accomplishments, and I was being told overqualified, overqualified. And I was thinking, what the heck? What is overqualified? What is that term? I've never heard that in my life.
That definitely would be a bit of a foreign concept for you, kind of thing. What? Me? I can do anything.
I
I'm all
said,
right.
what? So,
Humble.
oh my gosh. So anyhow, but honestly, I did not spend one night on somebody's couch. Not one night. I did not struggle. The struggle was only imagined, but not real. It never actually came. Yes, because I don't mean. I'll explain what I mean. I'm not saying I didn't. It all just landed in my lap, but I did not have a night where I didn't have where to sleep, and I didn't have a bed comfortable. Yes, and that is because I also planted seeds. So that's the next thing that I want to tell the audience about, the importance. And the most important thing you could possibly do in life is to be a person that gives, to be a person that does for other people without expecting nothing back. Because without thinking, you might be making your own bed. Because that happened to me when I was in Jamaica. I opened up my house to a family of 5 who came over for a holiday, and their holiday, the hotel was really pants. And my mother rang me and asked me, they were in Montego Bay, and my mother rang and asked me, can I put them up? Because at the time I had the privilege, I had a pool house, full 3-bedroom pool house, separate. And I said, yes, they can come. And I had staff, which I had my staff stay on the weekend, take care of them. They were supposed to be staying in Montego Bay for a short while, then go to Kingston. But what I did is I made them stay, just roll out the red carpet for them. They enjoyed it so much that when they went to Kingston, they rang and said, can we cut our time short in Kingston and spend some more time with you before we go? Because we're flying back from Montego Bay. And I did. Well, they were the ones, they're from England, and they were the ones that took me in, gave me a whole wing of their house to live in. Honestly, I'm telling you, right? Years after that happened, and that came from what I did for them. If you talk about good things that you see me do, more I could almost every one of those great accomplishments, I can link it back to a good thing I did for somebody that opened that opportunity for me. 100%. United Nations, that was a good deed I did for somebody that opened an opportunity for me twice. When I spoke in the United Nations in 2003, it was out of doing a good deed for somebody from Africa who I supported, because I set up a charity. When I could not find work, I set up a charity. I did not navel gaze and say, "Boy, it's me, it's because I'm black." No, I just got on with it. What can I do to help people?
Yes. How can I
You know,
serve? How
how
can
can
I serve?
how can I
That's
serve?
exactly
Out of
right.
that, that is how I spoke first in the United Nations in 2003.
Yeah.
Yes,
So this is kind of the ripple effect, isn't it?
the
You don't,
ripple,
yeah, yeah. You don't
the
know what's
ripple.
going to come back.
I
It
know,
goes
and that
out
is
and
why
then you don't
my
know.
faith, and that's how God works. He's about love, he's about giving, it's about doing for other people, and put him first, put people, you know, second, and he will take care of you. We don't need to fight for there's a song, fight, fight, fight for your rights. No, I'm not really into that. While I'm there fighting for my rights, I am not doing what I'm called upon this earth to do. I'm wasting time fighting battles with people.
Yeah, 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 absolutely. I mean, this is where we get to where you are now in this sort of, we go together or not at all
Mhm.
mantra that you live by. It's all about inclusion. It's all about diversity. What does inclusion mean? What does that mean to people who are listening?
Inclusion and belonging are inextricably linked. we cannot have inclusion without belonging, because inclusion without belonging is the worst kind of abuse you could ever heap upon anyone. If you are bringing people within your world, don't just go and say, I want the 9 of them, those 9, protected characteristics. Let's throw them in our organization. Da, 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 da. Here we go. And then you just carry on and feel so proud of yourself because we are now diverse. Newsflash, when you were all white, you were diverse. Let that sink in. Nobody is a clone. Everybody is different. In a full all-white organization, people tend to think, oh, we're not diverse. You're very diverse. People are from different parts of Wales, the different regions, different upbringings, different cognitions, different sexualities, different beliefs in religion. Listen, you're diverse. Let's stop until we realize that a whole group of Black people are diverse. We're all diverse until we realize that it's a humanity matter. And we need to understand the groupings that we are given to take care of, the communities that we are in, know them. It's not a one size fits all. Let's just write a slapdash thing. We got the formula. It's not going to work. When you have that heart towards people to understand the people that you are given the privilege of leading, whether it's in a university or a workplace or in a community group or a charity, if you have people to take care of, that is a great responsibility, and it is a great honor and privilege. And you need to take the time to know your people, because your people are different from the other set of people. And how you're going to do that is by giving them room to feel comfortable that they can speak. They can tell you how they feel without fear of recrimination.
Yeah.
Genuinely being able to speak.
Yeah.
Genuinely be able to communicate how they feel like what are the challenges, how they like to be spoken to, how they like to, and I mean, of course, you have to have some semblance of uniformity, don't get me wrong, but we have room to make reasonable adjustments. We do.
Absolutely. We don't
Yes,
need to be excluded. I mean,
exactly.
you're
And when
going
we
back to
do,
your childhood as being bullied in school and having that sort
yes,
of failure that you perceived of what happened. It all
yeah.
comes back to this moment
Mhm.
in your life where you are such a big powerhouse and driver of this belief that we are all supposed to be together. We are all supposed to
Exactly.
be one, and we're supposed to
Exactly.
help
And
each
so
other.
when we have that mindset that about people, it makes us so much more adaptable and accessible to the ostensibly different ones, the ones that come with different color, the one that comes with different, all those other different things. Then we are able to handle that much more easily because we are already accustomed in our minds to be making reasonable adjustments. But if we don't make reasonable adjustments for each other, we finding making reasonable adjustments to the people who come in, you're going to find it to be a bother. It's going to be like anathema. It's going to be a chore. It's going to be like, oh, why do we have to? Because that's the only time we're doing it.
Mm.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah, absolutely.
we need to have a mindset
Yeah.
of caring about how everybody feels and think. And that is why you have now such an upsurgence of the angry white male or the angry white female, because they're feeling like, enough of this. Don't I matter?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because we are making it worse for ourselves when we mishandle the concept of inclusivity and equality and inclusion. We just make it more difficult. If we're not prepared to handle it properly, we should leave it alone because
Mm.
we're just creating a cauldron.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Oh, I absolutely agree with you. You know, you've got this real purpose, this driving purpose to make a change, and it's about sort of showing other people the way. And if you can pave the way, and I think anybody listening who wants their soul purpose, who wants to find, their calling, whatever it is, and they're feeling that there's something there, what would you say to them, Bernie? Because you've achieved so much, you've overcome so much, and what would you say to people that right now might be feeling a bit stuck, or they've got a bit of childhood trauma? What would you suggest?
I'd suggest that they don't focus so much on what has happened to them. We can get fixated in the issue and we miss what the lesson is.
Mm, mm,
Yes?
yeah.
So I'm not going to say get over it, because you don't just get over things. But I want to say change your focus. Change your focus and look at, this thing happened. I'm still here. How did I get here? What did I do well to get here? What did I do too well to get here?
Yeah.
What would have helped me better to get here feeling more whole? And how can I therefore do one out of two things? Take responsibility for the things that I feel I need to help me to get beyond the space that I'm in. There are tools out there. We have no excuses these days. There are so many tools, so many places that we can go for advice, for support. Reach out. Don't let pride stop you thinking, oh, they're going to know that I'm struggling. Everybody's struggling. And that's one of the reasons I share so openly now, because people look at me and they think, oh, well, she's got it all together. Well, now, what I've been through, and I'm here. So I'm telling you how I did it. I did not navel gaze. I looked outside of myself and I thought, what can I do? How can I get help? And I decided to bet on myself. Bet on yourself. You're a good bet, because you can control. We're betting on other things that we don't control those people. You're a good bet. Bet on yourself. Yes? And look at the people you have around you. So surround yourself with positive people. Right? Surround yourself with positive people and learn the art of keeping your mouth shut sometimes. So I've opened my mouth now and I've told things that are, you could say, oh my goodness, she shouldn't probably share that. What would people think? No, I'm empowered now. I really don't care what you think about me. Right? However, in a nice way. But, you might not be in that position where you are strong enough to let it all hang out. So sometimes it's good to not say anything about things where you've been, except to really proven, trusted people. And the other thing is, if you also have plans of how you're going to get out, don't share it either, because you have dream killers. And some of the dream killers might be people who love you so much that they're just worried you might fail. The worst ones, the family ones that love you, they can be the worst dream killers. They come with the good intentions, but they stop you from trying.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, absolutely.
And then you have the ones who just all along really can only handle you when you're down, because there are some people who can only be friends with you when you are down. The minute you are getting to their level or better, they don't want to be your friend. So you need to be careful. You need to open your eyes, be perceptive. You keep your eyes and your ears open. Listen to what people say and what they don't say. And most importantly for me, I'll give you my advice. You don't have to take it, but develop a relationship with God, because a people without faith are a people without direction.
Absolutely,
Right?
I agree 100%. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Thank you, Bernie. Thank you so much for that beautiful guidance, that your words of wisdom, that you, and sharing your story and your visions. And, we wish you all the best going forward. You are definitely leaving a legacy. There is no two ways about that. And your ripple effect is something that I personally have felt, and you know this. So thank you once again for being on the Guiding Voice. I'll leave some details in the comments and what have you for people if they want to go on your website, find out anything more about you, all of those sort of things. And we always welcome new people to come to any of the conferences or
Oh,
anything that
yes.
you are putting
I
on.
don't know when this podcast will be going up, but if it goes up before, of course, please do come, and because you will also be there as well at the Master Diversity Conference at the Royal Welsh College of Music and Drama. See myself and Debbie in action, but if this is afterwards, well, you'll just have to catch up on the highlights.
Absolutely. Thanks once again. Thank you so much,
Thank
Bernie. We'll see you soon, right? Okay. Thank you.
you.
Bye bye,
Thank you,
my
my dear.
darling. Bye
Thank you for
bye.
having me.